Have you ever thought about building a sound system that doesn't just play music but makes you actually feel it in your chest? Well, today we're diving into exactly that, a massive 800-watt DIY power amplifier. And we're not talking about some simple kit here. This is about creating a beast from the ground up. And right from the get-go, the creator sets the bar incredibly high. He doesn't just say it's going to be loud. He describes the sound as explosive. Now that's the kind of power we're here to talk about. Just let that number sink in for a second. 800 watts. This isn't your average desktop speaker, not by a long shot. This is the kind of raw power that can drive huge speakers and create a sound you literally feel in your bones, a truly serious piece of hardware. So what does that 800 watts really mean in practice? Well, we're looking at a 400 watt plus 400 watt stereo amplifier. This means it's pumping out an immense amount of power to two separate channels, giving you that truly immersive stereo sound. Yeah, it can seem a little intimidating, right? But like any big project, it all starts with gathering the right parts. So let's take a look at the anatomy of this absolute powerhouse. So, first up, let's break down the main parts and what they do. This is the anatomy of our powerhouse. You know, the easiest way to think about this system is, well, it's kind of like you're building a robot. The huge transformer, that's the muscle, providing all the raw strength. The two amp boards, with their 16 MOSFETs, they're the heart, pumping all that power out. The big capacitors, they act like a pair of lungs, making sure there's a smooth, stable breath of electricity. The Bluetooth board is the brain, handling all the controls. And that awesome cabinet with the classic view meter, that's the face of the whole operation. And here's the kicker. You'd think a project this powerful would cost an arm and a leg, right? But believe it or not, the creator managed to source these key parts from a local market for a surprisingly low price. Just look at this breakdown. The big, sturdy cabinet was only 850 rupees. That classic-looking view meter, 300. And the Bluetooth card was just 100. It just goes to show you a seriously high-powered build can actually be pretty accessible. Okay, so all the parts are gathered. Now it's time for the fun part, the assembly. We're moving on to the physical build, fitting everything into the cabinet and laying down that all-important foundational wiring. The assembly kicks off with the heavy lifting, drilling into that thick cabinet. Then that hefty transformer gets bolted down into its new home. Now here's a pro tip from the creator. He pre-wires the amplifier boards before mounting them. Trust me, that saves a massive headache later when things get tight. And finally, the fans, speaker connectors, and fuses get fitted to the back panel. Now this right here is absolutely critical. When you are dealing with this much current, you simply cannot skimp on the wiring. The creator uses heavy 2.5mm gauge wire for all the main DC connections. And why is that so important? Well, if you use thinner wires, they just overheat and cause voltage drops, starving the amp of the clean power it needs. For 800 watts, heavy wire isn't a suggestion, it's a necessity. All right, now we're getting into the most technical, but maybe the most important part of the entire build, the power supply. This is the circuit that takes the electricity from your wall and turns it into the clean, stable power this beast needs to come alive. So how do you actually tame raw household electricity and turn it into something a high-performance amplifier can use? Well, the answer lies in a few key components all working together in perfect harmony. And the hero of this whole process is the rectifier. Let me put it simply, the power from your wall is AC, or alternating current, but the delicate electronics on these amp boards need DC, direct current. The rectifier is basically the translator that makes that crucial conversion happen. So let's follow the journey of the electricity. First, the transformer takes that high-voltage AC from the wall and steps it down. Then the rectifier converts it to DC, but it's a rough, kind of pulsating DC. That's where those big capacitors come in. They act like reservoirs, smoothing out all those pulses into a clean, stable power source. And that clean power is finally what gets fed to the amplifier boards. So after all that careful wiring and assembly, it is finally time for the moment of truth. Let's see what happens when all that power is finally unleashed. And we're not talking about a small test here. Oh no. The creator connects this amplifier to four, count 'em, four massive 12-inch speakers all at the same time. This is really going to push the system and show us what 800 watts is all about.
The fans start to spin. The lights come on. The system is live. After connecting his phone with Bluetooth, the creator slowly starts to turn up that volume.
And the result? Complete and total success. The creator said the bass punch was so strong, so powerful, that the sound was almost unbearable inside his studio. This right here confirms that the 800-watt ratings isn't just a number on a piece of paper. It's a real, roaring powerhouse. What a perfect example of what's possible when you mix the right parts with some careful, methodical work.